Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you back.
Yeah, I was happy with the music that got played this time. It was zany, but you know, not frightening. Like usual. I think I got Ghostbusters or something last time.
Ghostbusters. That's just humiliating.
Well, you know, these days.
Right. So you've clearly had a thing for robots for a while. You do have a PhD in robotics from Carnegie Mellon. What sparked your interest in robotics?
I just want to first emphasize it's not sexual in any way. The thing I have for robotics. I don't know. You know, when I was a kid, I played with a lot of toys, and there's kind of this pop culture like pantheon of all the the things you can do. You can be a policeman, you can be a fireman, you can there's all this stuff you can do, and then there's robots, and they're real, and so. As I got older, I started learning that you could actually, build robots for a living. That was a no-brainer to me. That pretty much was the obvious answer,
So how did you move from actually building robots to writing about building robots?
Well, so I was in grad school, and I was, doing actual robotics work, which is really hard, as it turns out. It takes a long time to build robots, and you usually only get to build one type of robot, and you have to, specialize. And so, as a joke, I wrote a book called How to Survive a Robot Uprising, which was me making fun of all the Hollywood scenarios where robots kill people because they typically don't, And I was, I was learning that, and we were all as roboticists, we all kind of felt like, we had a bad reputation out there. And so I wrote that book to make fun of it all, and then of course I wrote Robopocolypse and joined the
You did
dark side.
You
and now
totally did.
It's a book that just makes fun of me, myself. I was making fun of future Daniel. So there was past Daniel, young, hip, in his 20s, cool, making fun of me.
This is your Bible of self-deprecation.
Yeah.
It's done quite well. And just to give people an overview of the book, an AI, or artificial intelligence computer, gains sentience, and robots turn against humans. And eventually there's an all-out war, and this AI, Arcos, is the leader of this war. What are the humans getting in the way of for Arcos?
Yeah, so, it's got a very typical sort of robots attack beginning, because I wanted people to pretty much understand, what I was getting them into, and with a title like Robopocolypse, I think you kind of know whether you're gonna. So what is this? Is this like about 18th century painters, or what is that? So Robopocolypse, but from there I had a lot of fun and drew on my background, and so the bad guy, this really smart computer, is not really that concerned about people. One thing I've always noticed in a lot of science fiction, the robots always want to be people, or they want to kill all the people, but it's people. Robots are better than that. I mean, this thing's a lot smarter than any person that ever lived, so it's got its own goals that are beyond just worrying about people. And so one of the things that it wants to do, one of the things it realizes immediately, is that there's lots and lots of rocks bouncing off each other all throughout the solar system and outer space, and the infinity, but there's not a lot of life, and it's really smart. So I figured, what would a really smart creature be interested in? And I thought, knowledge. And if you look at something that's alive, you see that it's got a lot of information packed into it. It's got DNA and all these patterns that are tightly packed into living things. When you compare it to a rock, it's sort of like, well, the worm is much more interesting. And so we're killing a lot of worms, So they're
essentially just wanting to study human beings.
Yeah, well, just wanting to slow us down a little bit. And also, I don't want to give away the ending, but ultimately, it's not about really killing us all. It's kind of ultimately ends up being about creating a new world where human beings kind of have to share the mantle. We're not the coolest kids on the block anymore, and there's a new living creature that's around that needs respect.
Yeah. And I found it interesting, actually, that in this book where some really terrifying things happen, one of the scariest things for me was the doll. Can you explain how the robots sort of begin to take over?
Yeah, that's another place where I had a lot of fun because it all is in the near future. I mean, there's no robots that come from outer space or back in time or anything. This is all like, you know, your cell phone. Like if you have a Siri, you know, the little talkie lady, that's roboticist terminology, that lives inside.
It's very complex.
That lives inside your iPhone. Well, I mean, every time you speak to her, your voice is recorded and it goes into a database, and it's totally possible that, you know, that information is out there. All the new cars have more and more autonomous features. They can park themselves. They can drive themselves more and more. Google has cars that can drive themselves. I mean, that's not even, that's something that's done already. And so, you know, all of this happens just about like 10 or 15 years in the future, and it's just all the technology that we're actually quite used to just turns against us, you know, because there's not really enough predator drones to threaten everybody in Kansas, you know? But they've all got cell phones, you know?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I grew up in Oklahoma, and we had them there, so.
Well,
just extrapolating here.
In Chapter 1, Arcos, the computer, tells the doctor who created him, "I am your god." Is this book for you a book about our relationship to technology?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 100%, basically everything I write is about our relationship to technology, except for brojitsu, which is just your relationship with your brother. But,
right. Yeah, that was the art of sibling rivalry.
And the reason I like robots is because it's great. I mean, dealing with technology is something we all do daily. I mean, it's part of everybody's life. But whenever you have killer robots, it's great because you can externalize all that technology and really look at our relationship to it in a very simplified manner. It's like, it's evil, I hate it, it's trying to kill me. You know, and it's like, and there you go. And then with this book, it starts out kind of like that. Like the technology is just attacking, and it's very simple. But then as the book progresses, people realize they're going to have to, you know, use this technology in order to defeat the technology. And then it's like, you know, just more complicated and just like life.
Yeah, I mean, cars are just starting to self-drive people into accidents, and the doll starts speaking to a child. It's incredibly creepy, Daniel, frankly.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I was kind of going for that there.
I was really interested in what happened at the Osage Nation.
Osage.
Yeah. Nation. Why, if something like this goes down, where robots are attacking everyone, why is an Indian reservation a good place?
Well, so I grew up in Oklahoma. I'm part Cherokee, and it's always been, I grew up in the Cherokee Nation, which is really just sort of, you know, lines on a map. And it's always been really interesting to me that there are all of these sort of autonomous governments that are spread throughout the United States. And they're little governments, but they have, there's tribal police, and this is not a reservation situation either. This is just, there's lines on a map that say this is Cherokee Nation. If you want, you can get your license plate from the state government, or you can get it through the Cherokee Nation if you're Cherokee. And so these little governments are all fully functioning, and they're small, and they're rural. And so for me, I'm thinking if there's technology that's going nuts, the urban places are going to be dangerous because that's where technology is concentrated. And it's based on past results. I wouldn't really expect the government to come save me very quickly. I wouldn't, like, for instance, if there was a robot uprising, like climb on top of my roof of my house and be like, "Help, Obama." I just, not a surefire way to make it through. Maybe you could, I don't know. But anyway, there's these local governments that are able to keep functioning even when everything else falls apart. And to me, that was one of the most interesting themes of the book, is that they don't become cloistered, and they don't reject new people that show up. They actually, you know, let everybody, all the survivors, come together and try to survive.
Yeah. We're going to do a robot quiz with you, but before we get to that, I just wanted, I mean, this has been an amazing experience for you, because you've actually gotten to, Spielberg is going to direct your film. You actually got to go see him and visit him in his office and talk to him. It just seems like you've had a lot of sort of surreal, you've said that you're a sort of a self-proclaimed film nerd, and is there one experience you've had during all of this that you would run back to the kid, Daniel Wilson, and be like, "Dude, the coolest thing happened"?
There have been a lot of really cool things that I've been lucky enough to have happen. But, you know, recently I went to Comic-Con, which in itself was pretty crazy, to talk about Robopocolypse to people that really like that kind of robot action, just like me. And while I was there, I actually got to run into Spielberg, and he was there with Peter Jackson to do like a 10-10 talk. And so I'm in this room, and it's like I just met Spielberg again, and Peter Jackson. I shook hands with him, and I'm like totally freaking out. And then they decide that they have to walk across Comic-Con to get to where they're going to do their talk, and I like get to kind of like roll with them, like walking, and they're not, you know, taking elevators. There are like security guys and stuff, you know, like this with the earpiece and everything. And I mean, this is the epicenter of where these guys are famous, and they're already really famous. I'd like go hang out in like the Amazon jungle with Spielberg, and it would be no big deal. But this is like through the middle of Comic-Con, and it was amazing to watch the people reacting to this, because there's like this sort of force field around these two really famous gentlemen, and you're invisible. Like you could take your clothes off, you could do anything, you could just walk around, whatever, and no one sees you because you're just watching this shockwave of people going, oh, you know? And that's not even the best part. Like the best part is the people that are looking at their cell phones and they have no idea, and
they
just
the
go
whole thing.
right past, and it's like that's Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg, and you're so dumb. And then it's, you know, the kind of the tap on the shoulder, what did I miss, you know, kind of thing. But anyway, that would have been a pretty cool thing to go tell myself about.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I read that you wanted to write science fiction novels when you grew up, and it seems like it's pretty much as cool as you probably thought it was going to be.
I've been having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you are a robot expert, and so what we wanted to do was have a robot quiz with you, and our own Andrew Harris is going to come on stage, and he is going to test your robot knowledge with 3 simple questions. Okay. Andrew, take it away.
Hi, Daniel.
Hey.
Welcome to Robot Quiz. You know, I really enjoyed your books, and you seem to know a lot about robots and their plans for us. So, before we start, can I ask you what you know that you're not telling us?
You know, it's all in my survival shelter, so I'd have to go back.
Right, okay. Wink. Okay. First question. Name one way to stop a giant robot who's coming at you.
So is it a giant, if it's a giant robot that's walking, then I would shoot for the legs, because the legs are going to have to be very light for the robot to walk. And
okay, I'm sorry, that's incorrect.
Go for the joints?
No, that was a trick question. The actual answer is run away as fast as you can, screaming into the night. Next question. Name one tactic for escaping a robot swarm.
Okay, so if you had a swarm of robots that were trying to get around you, I wouldn't bother trying to destroy any of them. I'd just move away, try to make sure I don't get surrounded. Screaming optional.
Okay. Again, that was a trick question. The correct answer is scream like a little child between intermittent sobs, tears running down your face, and run blindly into the cold, unforgiving, robot-controlled night. Next question.
I think I deserve half a point.
I feel like
that.
a half a point would be fair for that one.
We'll see about that question. Next question. When building a robot, what is one way to harden it against an electromagnetic pulse attack?
Faraday cage. Yeah, so you just put basically like chain link all the way around it and then ground the metal to, to a spike, pound it in the ground.
Really?
That ought to do it.
Okay, that's incorrect. The correct answer is, why are you building a robot when you know it will rise up against you and come into your home and delete all your DVR television shows and then kill you and then build other robots who will help it take over the world? That's clearly demonstrated in Terminator 2, so...
Kind of should have known that, I feel like.
Yeah. You okay? You okay, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm doing great. So those are our questions. Daniel got none of them right, so he didn't win my signed copy of Transformers. But just a side question, I'm pretty sure that many people around me right now are robots, so how can I tell?
Well, if you're looking for an android, then you probably want to look for the little things, like whether they're breathing or blinking,
Okay.
Skin texture, you might just want to tap them on the face.
All right. I refuse to answer that question as you are clearly being controlled by your robot masters, so.
That's Robot Quiz. Thank you, Andrew Harris. Thanks for participating. Well, it's been a pleasure having you. You're working on another book right now, correct?
Yeah, my next novel will be out in June of next year.
All right, we're looking forward to it. This book is Robopocolypse. The author is Daniel Wilson. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much.